Welcome back to the C tutorial series. I'm so glad you're here. Today we will learn about pointers, so let's get started. So what exactly is a pointer? All a pointer is an address in memory, which is a location where a variable is stored. What makes C such a great programming language is that it makes you store variables and information in specific locations. So you know where all your memory is and you won't lose it if you know how to properly manage it. So let's create a variable that is an integer number and let's set it equal to 25. Then let's print out the number, and if you remember, number is an integer, so it's %d, and we want to see where it is stored in memory. So we'll say is at address, and it will be at the hexadecimal address wherever the pointer is. So a pointer is %p, that's how we read it. And then after that, we put number just like before. And then how do we get the address? Well, it's just an ampersand, then the variable. So let's run this and see what happens. And it says number 25 is its address. Then it gives us the hexadecimal address ending in 5588. Now let's see what happens if we print a new number. Call it number 2 and we'll set it equal to 50, and then we'll copy the statement from before and just switch number to number 2. And we run this and see that the address only differs by 4. Number is at address C588 and number 2 is at address C584. Number ends in C588 and number 2 ends in C584. That is because an integer is 4 bytes. And if you remember, a character is 1 byte, an integer is 4 bytes, a float's 4 bytes, a double is 8 bytes, and a pointer is 8 bytes as well. So that's why the difference between number and number 2 is 4, because it's of type integer, which takes 4 slots in memory. Now we're beginning to understand how memory works in computers. I'm then going to create a variable called favorite number. I'm then going to ask the user to enter their favorite number, and then I'm going to do scanf. If you remember scanf from a previous video, we put an ampersand before favorite number. Well, that is because we're assigning the value of favorite number to that address. So now you realize why we put it there. Now let's see what happens when we reassign a number. So let's just call this integer reassign and let's set it equal to 1. Then I'm going to create a for loop and set reassign equal to reassign plus 1. Then I'm going to use the print statement from above and change it to reassign. And I fixed the typo in address as well. And when I run this code, we see that the variable reassign does not change locations when you alter the value. It just sends a new number to the same location. So the address is the same, therefore we're sending it to the same location in memory. You can also create pointer variables with a specific data type. So if we wanted to create a variable that stored where reassign was, we could. So we created an integer and it has a star in front of it. That lets us know that it's a pointer for an integer that we called PTR, short for pointer, and it's going to store the location for reassign. So if you remember from before, in order to show the location, we need the ampersand. And now it's going to store 0x ending in G56C in pointer. And if we wanted to print it out, we could. We could just do %P and then we just do PTR. We don't need an ampersand here because this is already the address. So now I'll run this and we do in fact get the same address as the for loop. And I ran it again this time, so that's why it's in a different location than the previous time. But in this run, the location is the same. If I wanted to get the value, I could do that by saying the address is the number and then %G because it's an integer. But how do I get that? I need to dereference it. And I just dereference it by doing a star before the variable, star PTR. And when I run this, I get the number 6. And that is correct because that is the last value that the variable reassigned is set to. And that's an introduction to pointers in C. Next, we will introduce arrays, which will help us further understand how pointers work and how memory is allocated in C. Make sure to follow along with this video series by subscribing and hitting the notification bell, or by clicking on the next video so that you can expand your knowledge about C. Thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you next time!